Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Speaking About Speaking. And here I am with my gorgeous guest, Sarah Clay. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Jackie, how are you?
I'm fine. I've been looking forward to getting you on this show for a long time, and you're finally here.
It's been a long
Yay.
time coming, but
It has
yes,
been a long
yeah.
time coming. Sarah Clay is a corporate LinkedIn trainer, employee advocacy expert, and keynote speaker. So you're perfect for the show, apart from obviously your fabulous colorway, which is purple and orange, and as always on brand. So yeah, and I even wore a little bit of orange for you today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a very nice orange. Yes,
Yeah, it is. It's very subtle. I'm not.
it is subtle.
Yes.
Not like me.
So tell us, Sarah, how you kind of got into the LinkedIn expert is what you are now, but you didn't start there. You started back when I was looking at what you were up to, in sort of producing commercials and videos and stuff. And you were a lawyer, which, like I said to you before we came on, and we've known each other vaguely for the last couple of years. Really, we've not had sort of deep conversations, or we've not really had the chance to. But I didn't realise that you'd trained as a lawyer and done the sort of the TV stuff. But it all makes sense now why you are such a good communicator yourself. Actually, I like the way you speak and the way that you show up to your audiences. And yeah, that's kind of do you think that comes from your background? And how did you get here?
Oh gosh. Well, I think actually my communication probably started even before that, because I'm from rather large family, and I'm the only girl with 6 brothers. And getting my voice heard was difficult, really difficult, because I wasn't really meant to have a voice. And if I did have a voice, I was just a loud girl. So it was difficult to try to get my voice heard, but in a way that people would actually listen rather than just screaming at people. So that was probably the start. And then the law was really just to sort of show my dad I was clever. And in fact, I do remember once saying to my mum when I was quite young, saying, "Mum, I think I might go into marketing." And she said, "Oh, no, dear, don't do that. Do something worthy."
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'll be a lawyer then, which is not always necessarily worthy. But so I started on my journey in the law, and then realised it really wasn't for me at all. And got to an age where I just thought, no, I'm not, I don't want to do this anymore. And I didn't actually even qualify, which my father was furious, of course. And I left law. And while I was deciding what to do, I kind of thought I might go back to it. And I thought, well, I'll just sort of bimble around a bit and see what's out there. And stumbled across this thing called the film industry. And of course, I lived in London, so it was all happening there in Soho. And thought, oh my gosh, this is it. This is where I'm meant to be, with all these wacky, interesting people, where one day is completely different from the next. You don't know what you're doing every day. You walk into the office or go onto a film shoot, and you haven't got a clue how the day is going to pan out. And that suited me so much better. And that was what I did for years. Producing, I ended up sort of worked my way up to producing TV commercials, music videos, short films, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Well, yeah, you're in my world right there. Obviously I'm from London originally. Anyway, I'm down here on the south coast now, but a lot of my career was in and around Soho and doing all that stuff. Not production, but theatre and costume and wandering up and down Wardour Street and Berwick Street and all of those. So,
Angels and Bermans, hanging out in Angels and Bermans, I would imagine.
Oh God, yeah. Those were the days. So, I mean, obviously, why social media then? How did that happen? Because obviously, TV production and all of the world that you were living in, I can understand it's slightly stressful, but it is quite exciting. It's quite well paid if you're getting the work. Was there something that sort of sparked you moving over into social media?
Well, there were 3 children.
That'll do it.
And I tried to stay working in film and raise the kids. And my husband also works in film, and he's an editor, so he works really, really long hours, particularly back in the day. And I just thought, I can't do this. I can't work in film and do the kiddie thing. So I ended up running the marketing department for my local estate agents. And I'd never done marketing before. And it was kind of like, they said, yeah, you'll be fine, off you go. I was like, okay. So literally learnt it as I went, and did lots of, research online and what have you, and seemed to do a good job. Well, they kept me for 7 years. So I think I just been doing all right. And then I got headhunted by a film company. So it's all sort of coming full circle, to be their head of PR. And that was because of my film background, which is why I got that job. So I thought, well, this sounds quite fun. And then with both jobs, obviously, I was getting these companies on social media, which was very new in those days, and nobody was really sure what it was and what was going on. And one day when I was working at Nexus, at the film company, I said to them, you've got to set up an Instagram account. They were a film production company making the most amazing animated films for the White House and for, big productions. And they said, well, why do we need to be on Instagram? Because we've got a website. And so I got them all set up on Instagram, and I thought, this is the future. This is where it is. So I left and studied social media with an organization called Digital Mums, which was incredible. And it was 9 months of online stuff. And it was a brilliant course. And I met some amazing people. And it just changed my life, absolutely changed my life. And I finished that course and set up my own social media agency. And I was looking after lots of hospitality. So I was running a lot of the Fuller's pubs, social media, lots of sort of hospitality, some fashion, wellness, that kind of thing, for about two and a half years, I suppose. And then we hit lockdown. And I lost all my clients overnight because they all closed. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I'd already started using LinkedIn to get my own clients, and I was teaching people how to do their own social media and a bit of LinkedIn. And I thought, what, this is lockdown, everybody needs LinkedIn, I'm going to pivot and do LinkedIn only. Everybody said I was mad, and I thought, no, this is it, this is where it's going, I've got to do this. And I changed, literally one night, sat up until about 3 a.m, changed all my profiles, did a whole load of homework, and paid John Espirian to teach me how to do LinkedIn really well. And that was that.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're so right, weren't you, really? It's such a huge platform to be on, especially for businesses. But just going back quickly to digital mums, I've heard that exact same story from Ella Orr. Do you know that?
Yes.
Ella did the same thing? It sort of changed her life too. So yeah, big up digital mums. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We've got Craig Allen in the house. Hey, Black Knight is in the house. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here, Craig. And if there is anybody else there listening, watching, then please do join us. Put a comment, ask a question, whatever you like. If you're watching the replay too, then do put a comment, ask a question, and we'll endeavour to get back to you. So LinkedIn then. Why did you go for LinkedIn rather than Instagram or Facebook, or what was it about LinkedIn that sort of drew you in?
Good question. I loved Instagram. I still do, actually. And apparently it's the algorithm on Instagram has changed this week to be a bit more friendly to small businesses. So there you go. Little big up for LinkedIn, for Instagram. But what I loved about LinkedIn was that it's words as well as images, and it's about communicating. I just felt it was a bit more, I hate the word. Well, I don't hate the word. I hate the way it's been overused. Authentic, if you like, is the word I think I'm looking for. And I found, I posted twice, my first 2 posts on LinkedIn, which were scary and awful. And I got a client from each post.
Wow.
And I thought, well, this kind of works. I need to bottle this and focus on it. And I thought, right, well, this is where it's at. This is the platform, if it's working so well for me already. But I do like the way that LinkedIn you do actually talk to people, whereas Instagram, it's a bit shouty, and it's a bit, this is a nice
Hmm.
image, go. And people do respond, of course, and they do comment, but not, the conversations don't happen in the same way that they do on
No,
LinkedIn.
that's true, isn't it? I find that LinkedIn, I mean, I kind of use it as a secondary almost, or even third to Facebook, because as you say, there are no words, there's no comments. So it is slightly easier to build relationships through LinkedIn, I find, and build
Yeah.
communities. And talking of communities, we have the
I was about to
lovely
say that.
Mark Masters here. Look, hi Sarah, hi Jackie. What's your biggest LinkedIn frustration that drives you potty?
Oh, well, I just actually would like to give Mark a shout out, because I came across Mark Masters in lockdown, and that's how we've built our friendship, and that's how I met you, Jackie.
Absolutely.
And of course we've since met in person several times. What's the biggest? What is it? It's salesy, spammy nonsense, of course. When people. So I got one today from a guy, and he sent me a direct message about offering me some LinkedIn training that I do with some LinkedIn training. I just replied, no, you're okay, thanks. But because it's about communicating, and that's what we love.
Yeah. It's not about that I got one of those as well today. But I mean, how stupid people send these without even acknowledging what you do for a living, without even doing their homework. It's just madness, isn't it, really?
And he had about 30 followers or something.
Yeah.
It's not about the numbers I know particularly, but I know.
Yeah. So when did you start actually sort of getting in front of audiences, not necessarily even stepping on stages, but just getting in front of groups of people and talking about what it is that you do?
Oh, I think it was. So the other thing about lockdown actually was quite interesting, is people were actually coming to me and saying, can you help me do LinkedIn? And of course, how am I going to promote that? And how did I suppose it was when I started my agency, when I started the social media agency, which would have been about 7 years ago, I guess. I was using lives on Instagram to sort of publish myself, if you like, and put myself out there. I didn't do YouTube back in those days, but that was, of course, it was mostly remote. In person, I don't know really. I guess it was, I know when it was. It was when I was working, doing a lot of the Fuller's pubs. Some of the pubs just couldn't afford their own social media manager. So I said to Fuller's, look, why don't I teach some of your pub managers how to do it themselves, and then they can teach their staff, etc., etc. So I was running workshops for Fuller's pub managers in their kind of back rooms of their pubs when I had my agency. So I suppose that's probably it, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So just going back to Mark there, I just wondered how in lockdown, what were you doing that you came across You Are the Media, and what sort of research were you doing during lockdown that sort of helped you come out of lockdown?
I don't know. You know how sometimes on LinkedIn you just come across people and you come across things, and Mark just popped up in my feed, and I thought, oh, I like this. And it was maybe through John Espirian, I suppose he's our mutual connection.
Yeah.
And I was joining the You Are the Media lunch clubs, and just thought, this is great. And I actually set up my own club called Linking Out Club, which was kind of an offshoot or a similar structure. I'd get guest speakers in and what have you. And it kept me alive in lockdown. And I know it kept a lot of other people alive. I didn't pursue it, not like Mark. But I guess, and that's what I love about LinkedIn, is that things happen, and it's kind of this journey of that person's connected to that person's connected to them, and you all kind of join up together. And in fact, recently I've noticed I've had a lot of followers from Zurich. Okay. Ooh. And I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting. And then one lady, connected with me recently, and she sent me a note, and I said, well, how did you find me? And she said, oh, my friend so-and-so, who I don't know, recommended you to me. And so it must be some sort of chain somewhere. And suddenly I've got all these connections in Zurich, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah. I mean, it is incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, even when you think we went to Uplift, well, in fact, I had seen you on the screen, the Zoom screen at the You Are the Media back in the day, even as you are in that little square with your thing behind you and everything. And it's Sarah Clay. I knew the name, I knew the face. And then I went to the Digital Women Conference last year, I think. Was it last year? Maybe might have been the year before.
Year before. It was the year before.
Yeah, because you were on the stage and Ella was on the stage. And I'd gone up there to support Ella, and I think we ended up sitting next to each other in the audience. And I went, "Oh, Sarah Clay, I remember. I recognised you from that little square." But it's those kind of like tendrils that kind of happens on LinkedIn. That 6 degrees of separation. And even at the Uplift conference that John Espirian organised this year, one of the speakers was talking about that. I can't remember who it was talking about this sort of 6 degrees of to Kevin Bacon. That kind of
yes, the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees thing. That was hilarious, and I haven't seen that. But it's true. It's absolutely true. And the more people you know, the more people you know, kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then how did the big stages kind of, because the Digital Women was quite a big stage, really. I mean, it's not just physically a big stage, but there were lots of people in the audience, and you very confidently got up and talked about LinkedIn. When did that start for you?
I mean,
it was Kevin Turner.
Kevin Turner. No, it was Kevin Turner talking about Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Yes, all Kevin's. Yes, that's right.
Thank you, Craig. Sorry about that.
So that's definitely in size the biggest stage I've been on, but because we were in lockdown when I started doing, a lot of the speaking, most of my speaking has been on Zoom, which is crazy, really. And obviously it's a very different skill from standing on a stage, although no less worthy. I absolutely don't think it's any less worthy at all, speaking on Zoom and on stage. And I do see some people speaking on stage much better than how they speak on Zoom. So it's been quite a short journey, I suppose, for me to get to that particular stage. But I want more, I love it. I really love standing on the stage and telling people things that they don't know. And I just find it so rewarding when people come to me afterwards and go, "Wow, I had no idea of that."
Yeah.
And I love that. And so the more people I can say the message to, the better, really.
Yeah. I mean, you look very comfortable up there. Do you think there's anything in your lawyer training or your TV training that has made you feel comfortable or seem comfortable?
I do remember when I was an article clerk, as we were called in those days, a trainee solicitor, having some speaking training and being told that I wriggled around too much and I needed to be more stationary. And actually, as we're sitting here, I have got my fiddle toy and I am fiddling under
well done.
desk because I do.
I'm fiddling because I need to plug myself in.
Oh, you better do that then. I'll keep everyone entertained, Jackie.
Keep everybody afloat,
But I think also because I sat through 4 years of law school, and sat through so many really, really boring lectures with people just talking like this. And I thought, if ever I'm in a position where I'm teaching people to do anything, I will make sure I do not do that. And slides with lists and lists and lists and rows and rows and rows of writing. I thought I will never, ever do that. And of course, now it's become known as death by PowerPoint. And I vowed to myself and the world at large that I would, if ever I did stand on a stage or teach anybody anything, I would make it fun and interesting. And that is my mantra, because life's too short to be boring.
It is. And, and people learn in different ways anyway. But if you are engaging and entertaining and you're not talking monotone, if you're excited about what it is that you're teaching people, they are going to be excited too. And people learn so much better no matter how they learn when they're having fun. So
absolutely.
People get hung up with the data and putting their whole talk on the slide, and it's like, please don't do that, because it does, you can't, the information doesn't go in twice. You can't read it and hear it at the same time. So
no, good point. Actually, good point. And I stand in front of big rooms of lawyers And I'm like bouncing around in my orange and my purple, and they don't seem to mind. They seem to quite like it, so it kind of works.
Yes, who was I talking to? It was Lee Taylor from the You Are the Media community about trying to get lawyers outside of their comfort zone slightly, just to kind of, and I'm sure you are an absolute tonic to a room full of lawyers. So just very quickly talking, because we haven't got that long left, it goes so fast. The employee advocacy expert side of what you do, where did that come about, and what exactly do you do for that?
So that's a really interesting, the whole employee advocacy thing and how I've ended up doing it is a really interesting, it's been quite an interesting journey. So when I was running the pub's social medias, I would I'd get the staff, certain staff, I'd give them the logins, if you like, to the pub's Instagram, mostly Instagram, and I would task them, the people behind the bar, to post stories, and actually not on the main feed, post Instagram stories on the pub's feed, because I couldn't be there all the time. Pubs are all over the country. I couldn't be there filming, everything. And I said, when that goal is scored, when you've got a pub full of people watching the football and the goal's scored and the whole pub just lifts up and it's all exciting, or the band are here, I want you guys to be filming this and putting it on the pub social media. So they were like, well, why should we? So I thought, okay, well, what we could do here is have an incentive scheme. So with the consent of each pub manager, I said, look, if I record the metrics of each of the employees, the staff's posts, can we give them a bottle of gin or a bottle of vodka at the end of the month to the post that's had the most engagement? And this became a thing in all of the pubs. And then, of course, at the end of the month, the pub manager would present the bottle of whatever it was, and there would be a post about it. So it was another content opportunity. And this became a bit of a thing. Now, had I known it had a name and it was an actual thing, then I might have sort of capitalized on it and gone further with it. But only recently, sort of a couple of years ago, I thought, oh, there's this thing called employee advocacy, and it is actually a thing. I had no idea, because to me, it makes sense. It's absolute common sense that company pages they're great, we need them, but they sort of sit in the cupboard a little bit, and LinkedIn don't push them out, which is fine. But the way to get that company message out is by using the employees as advocates. And to me, it just makes sense. So then I started digging around and realized it was actually a thing, and there were organizations that there are platforms where you can put the metrics in and the content and all of that kind of thing. And I started digging around a bit more, and now that's what I'm doing. And I'm a consultant with companies, and I stay with them and I look after it, and I'm pushing them forward. And my book, which is called Employee Advocacy on LinkedIn, will be out later this year.
Fantastic. How exciting.
Yeah.
So to me, what was I thinking? It really is that they're speaking to people about personal brand, even if you work for a company.
Yeah.
And it is exactly that, isn't it? It's having that your own personality to put forward for that, is only going to help the company that you're working for. It's not about just being them, being the brand. It's actually about bringing some of your personality to those posts and to that company that you work for. Is that kind of what you would advocate?
That's exactly. You've nailed it, Jackie. No, absolutely, it's that, because you can't make anybody do it. You wouldn't want to anyway. But it is about those individuals and about them being their own personal brand and bringing their view of of what they do. So, for example, one of the clients I've got at the moment, their head of sales has written the most amazing article about sales, and she's published that on her own personal profile. And of course, the company are going to be sort of repackaging it slightly and then putting it out on the company page. And that's promoting her as an expert in sales, but it's great for her, but it's also great for the company as a whole.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, I think it's great. Looking forward to the book. What's it called?
Employee Advocacy on LinkedIn.
Whoa. That's what it says on the tin. Fabulous.
Very Ron seal, exactly.
Let's talk a little bit then about your LinkedIn Live. So you do your LinkedIn Live Lounge.
Yes, which I'm going to have to rebrand.
Oh, because LinkedIn don't like things like that, do they?
They don't. And I am worried that, Mark Williams got his cease and desist on his podcast. And I think I need to change the name. So it's going to be called Sarah's Business Live Lounge instead as of next week. So there will be, I'll do that. And yeah, I interview people about LinkedIn, basically.
Yeah.
That's what I
Talk
do.
about niching down. But having said that, I thought when I niched this for sort of speaking about speaking, obviously I was talking to everybody and anybody in the podcast's previous life as Power to Speak the podcast. And I thought, no, we'll go for speaking about speaking, and I will speak to people that are speakers and speaker coaches. But actually, there are so many people out there that speak for their business and for a living or whatever, or just in their own communities, that actually, even though you niche, you're talking to people about LinkedIn, it's broad, isn't it? So broad.
Yeah, it is. And what I see you doing is amazing, and I love the way that you use LinkedIn to talk about what it is that you do and how you show a lot of the behind the scenes. And here we are in a workshop and doing all that. And I think, why did I try and sing?
I don't know.
So
It's great.
sorry,
Do it
again. But it's because you make me feel so comfortable, Jackie, because that's what you do. But I love how you talk about what you do on LinkedIn, and to me that's it's a really powerful marriage of the two skills, if you like. I can't remember what the question was, and I've probably gone off piece.
No, I got slightly distracted there by Liam has put a comment in here. Hello, Liam. Miss you at Creator Day this year. Yeah, we did miss you. We were the last ones standing, as always. But I know, had you been there, you would have been there with us. Was it difficult when you were empowering the staff to run the channels to let go of some level of control over their choices? Staying on brand.
Good question, Liam. Hello, and yes, I missed you too. In a pub environment, it wasn't that difficult, to be honest, because all they literally had to do was hold up their phone and just film what was going on in the room at the time. And it wasn't about them, it was about what was happening in the room. So that was actually that wasn't too hard. What I'm finding more difficult now is empowering employees to go on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is seen as a more professional platform, if you like, and some of the employees are a bit nervous about that. So my job is to go in and demystify all of that and make them feel at ease with LinkedIn. And once they get comfortable on LinkedIn, yes, it works, but that's a harder sell, if you like, than getting people behind a pub just filming what's going on in the pub.
Yeah, there's something more grown up about LinkedIn, isn't there? And I think until you start using it, you don't understand that actually you can show your personality. You can, be yourself. Whereas a lot of people just assume that you have to be businesslike and turn up in a tie and, shoulder pads and all of that, which obviously you don't. There's a lot more to it than that. Well, just as we are coming to the end of our 30 minutes, I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody at the end, which is, in your opinion, what makes a good speaker good and a bad speaker suck?
Ooh, good question. So speaking isn't just about standing on the stage and speaking. And this is one thing I have discovered, that it's about having the right content for your audience and knowing who your audience is and what they want before you even, weeks and weeks, when you're planning what you're going to say. And that's really important. And whenever I'm asked to speak, I always ask whoever's asked me to speak, what's the audience? What are they? Who are they? I'll try and check a few of them out on LinkedIn to get a feel for what they want. And also, if I'm being paid by an organization to come and speak to all of their people, what do you want out of this? What do you want out of my talk, so that we're all aligned? And I think content is really, really important. And in fact, I've seen speakers with the most amazing content, but the most terrible delivery, as well as the other way round, with great delivery, but the content actually doesn't really resonate. And I think I'd rather have good content and poor delivery than the other way around, possibly. So I think knowing your audience is important.
Yeah, totally agree.
Obviously mumbling and talking very quietly is not a good idea. My thing is that I like to create an impact right at the beginning. So I kind of run on stage, big. Whereas a lot of speakers are very quiet. They walk on stage and then they begin and they build up. I don't think there's a right or a wrong there, but I like to try and capture the attention before I go in, or at the beginning. And the other thing I think is to have some kind of a cadence, so it's not the same level all the way through. And I think, however your cadence is, and whether I don't know, you probably will have what this is, but as long as there's some kind of differentiation during with regard to speed, volume, subject, whatever it is, and I think that's important. Otherwise, it does become a bit of a monotone.
Yes. Vocal variety, a bit of pitch and tone, very, very important. And I do find that if you tell a story, when you're telling a story to a friend, whoever it might be, you will never tell that story monotone. There's always going to be so that's why storytelling actually is quite important. If you're putting together a presentation, there's always a story there, and you can't tell a story monotone. But I totally agree. The research around your audience is incredibly important, because if you've got a talk that's just for you and it doesn't resonate with the audience, then you've wasted everybody's time, including your own. So yeah, really, really important. Fabulous. Well, if there is any last questions, then please do put them in. Otherwise, I will say thank you very much to Sarah. And I'm going to show this is where people can find you, sarahclaysocial.com. Is there anywhere else, Sarah, or anything coming up that you'd like to tell us about before we finish?
Well, you might, if you find me on LinkedIn, obviously, I'm there quite a lot. And do keep your eyes and ears open for the LinkedIn book launch, which will be happening soonish. Yes.
Oh, Craig's put this comment, which doesn't mean anything to me.
Secrets of a Storyteller, coming out soon.
Craig, is that a crafty way of selling your own book on my podcast?
Bravo, if so.
Bravo, absolutely.
Absolutely. Or maybe Craig's hoping that maybe Craig's creating the hashtag Secrets of a Storyteller and hoping that I might reveal some secrets.
Well, it sounds good. I do like it as a hashtag. It's very good, Craig. And if anybody wants to get in contact with me, powertospeak.co.uk. And just very quickly to say that at the top of the comment stream, there is a link there to Sarah's, I was going to say LinkedIn Live Lounge, but I'm not allowed to say that anymore. But yes, so if you want to go and check out.
This is the last LinkedIn Live Lounge before the rename. So,
yes. And I think that link takes you to the one that you're doing on Thursday.
Thank you, Jackie.
But yeah, okay, Craig, you've made up for it. Yeah, that's great. Fantastic chat. Yes, fabulous. Thank you it's the name of my book. Thought so. But lovely to have you here. Lovely to hear from all of you. If you are watching the replay and want to ask any questions or make any comments, then please do. You can find it on YouTube, and eventually it goes up onto the audio, but I will promote it when that happens, and you can go and have a listen there. But thank you so much for your time today, Sarah. It's been absolutely amazing to have you here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, and I'm so glad we got around
to it eventually. And Liam is accusing Craig of being the guerrilla approach.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, and thank you all for being here, and I will see you all again next week. And I have Michelle Haslam, TikTok lady, is with me next week, so I will look forward to seeing you all then. But Sarah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jackie.